Hello everybody and welcome to The Rooftop. I'm Tom York and it is my pleasure to bring to you our first ever Rooftop news broadcast. But Tom, what is The Rooftop, I hear you ask? That's a good question. The Rooftop is the home of good news worth shouting about. We're here to provide you with a dose of positive news every day. We're unashamedly upbeat, and we don't care, quite frankly, because we focus on the stories that the mainstream media either don't have time or don't want to report. We cover issues that matter and campaigns that make a difference. Ultimately, we want to help charities, campaigners and social enterprises connect with the public and get their positive stories heard in what can often be a negative mainstream media climate. Now, believe it or not, even in this weird world of isolation and social distancing, good news is still happening everywhere. And what a week it's been for good news, because yes, without question, we're all going through an incredibly tough time at the moment. But through all the anxiety, all the confusion, and all the isolation, somehow there are still so many charities and campaigners and social enterprises that are still finding a way to continue their amazing work and also lifting our spirits in the process. So that's us. Now, here to talk us through some of this week's top stories, I'd like to introduce you to Simon Francis. Simon is the founder and editor of The Rooftop. Welcome, Simon. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Tom. No problem at all. And thanks for hosting this first broadcast for The Rooftop. Really exciting. So we set up The Rooftop, really, as you said, to sort of plug this gap that charities are finding between how can they get their message out to the general public. It came about as a result of kind of a brainstorm, really, with all of our members. And then we did some testing with other charity organisations just to find out how can we best support them. And so basically we use the profits that we generate through our social enterprise campaign collective, which helps deliver campaigns for charities and social enterprises and other campaigners, and we use those to then fund The Rooftop. So delighted to be here and trying out a new way of getting positive news to people.
That's great. And we've been going for how long is it now, The Rooftop? Is it
about just over 18 months now? So yeah, we've grown from nothing to having over 41,000 Facebook followers. We get up to 500,000 content views a week across all of our channels. So a real fast growth in just a relatively short amount of time.
That's great. And I think it shows that there really is a real hunger from the public to read more positive news, in amongst the negative news out there. So, for me, being a part of it too, it's a really uplifting process. Okay, well, without further ado, over to you, Simon. What are the top stories that you've been covering recently that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, okay, so the 5 stories this week. First of all, is a new drive to do more promotion of good news. This is being led by Social Enterprise Scotland and on Twitter with the hashtag GoodNewsScot. Every weekday at 11 o'clock, you can find out more about some positive news stories that are happening right across Scotland. So a real great way of spreading the word, and we're sort of proud to be taking part in that.
That's fantastic. So how long will it run for, and how can people
keep
get
an open mind?
involved?
Let's see how many people can get taking part. So if you've got something good that you want to promote, then go into Twitter and take part in hashtag GoodNewsScot and share your good news with people. So following on from that, there's also another really nice charity story this week, which It's been launched by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, people will probably have heard of Make-A-Wish Foundation because they work with families who've got kids who are really seriously ill to grant them, a once-in-a-lifetime wish. So that might be a trip to Disneyland, it might be a tour around the Houses of Parliament, it could be, there's all sorts of amazing experiences that they've granted to their recipients. But one of the things that all of the families that they work with have in common is that one of the issues that people have when they've got a child who's got a serious illness could well be that they're having to self-isolate themselves throughout for quite a long period of time. And so actually they've got quite a lot of advice that they can give to the rest of the population. So the Make-A-Wish Foundation has collated some of that advice and has brought that together to help other people get through the lockdown, and they're launching a campaign around that. So that's definitely one of my top stories. Also, just at the end of last week, every other week or so, we generally cover some opinion pieces and some expert information. And this is done through a partnership that we have with a media charity called Project Syndicate. And they exist to basically share evidence-based opinion pieces and insightful articles about the economy, about healthcare, about the environment. And obviously at the moment, they're doing a lot about coronavirus. And one of the pieces that we've published last week was looking at actually how this has been a really good opportunity to see how the private sector has stepped up. We don't cover the private sector very much on the Rooftop. There's enough media outlets that do that, but we thought it's worth giving a shout out that there are a lot of great companies out there. And of course, this isn't something that is new to coronavirus. There are some companies that are doing some really amazing things. So another story that we ran just last week is from before the lockdown started, and is a partnership between Deliveroo and a missing persons helpline, where Deliveroo drivers are actually displaying the images of people who have been reported missing on their drivers' packs as they go around cities delivering food and delivering parcels. And actually what it's led to is two people having been found as a result of people seeing someone's picture on the back of a Deliveroo driver's pack and then calling a helpline or actually getting in touch with people who reported them missing. So real positive.
That's amazing.
Really
that's really good. And I know through social media, that's been a really positive. We've had lots of engagement with that, and people really keen to, spread the message to encourage more people to think about it. And having a look at these kind of mobile billboards going around, it's it's a great initiative. And as you say, working with the private sector on those kind of things, it's great to see charities and private sector working together. Just skipping back to Project Syndicate, you mentioned that they have a lot of it's basically comment pieces, and I know it's the tagline is the world's opinion page. And I think how many commentators generally do they have, and what kind of people are usually writing the columns?
Yeah, so the columns that we've taken from them have been from leading authorities and experts from all around the world. We've had Greta Thunberg write a piece for us. We've had Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister, wrote a really interesting article as well. So, it's people who are, real experts on different issues, writing, and the stuff is evidence-based. I mean, that's the key thing to remember, really, that it's trying to make sure that insightful opinion pieces get the oxygen of publicity, which I think in the current media climate is ever more important. So we're obviously proud to be carrying a piece, and it's generally every Thursday that we'll carry an opinion piece like that.
That's good. That's really good. Any other stories?
One more. Last of the top five is looking at the other area that we often cover is the work of local authorities. And there's a really nice story from Camden Council in London, who've teamed up with a social enterprise called socialbox.biz. And what Socialbox does is they take unused IT, so that's laptops, mobiles, tablets, and then they basically donate them to be the lonely, the isolated, the vulnerable. So they work with Age UK, they work with refugees, they work with young people with learning disabilities, all sorts of different organisations and charities that can help connect people using IT. So if you're watching and you have some spare IT lying around that you don't need, and you're a company, then or a public sector body, or even a charity, then you can get in touch with socialbox.biz. And at the moment, obviously, one of the big focuses they've got is on trying to help people connect, especially the elderly, who at the moment, will need that IT probably more than anyone else. So a really great way of local authorities working with charities and with social enterprise to deliver something that's going to hopefully help a lot of people as we go into a further, potentially 3 weeks of lockdown at least.
Yeah, that's really important. I know. Well, yeah, I mean, great handful of stories there, Simon. I know you guys have been busy writing them, and I guess what else have you got coming up in the next week or two? And yeah, if there's anything else you wanted to say to viewers watching this.
Yeah, so coming up, we've got next week. Should have a story about behind the scenes in a care home and some of the work the really amazing work that care assistants and nurses are doing to try and keep resident spirits up at what is really difficult time there. Probably got a story about how to keep a healthy heart and keep exercising without going as far as doing one of Joe Wicks's kind of high intensity workout films. Got something about how social enterprises and charities are helping people who are still suffering from period poverty. So quite a broad range of stories next week. And obviously, would love to hear from viewers' own stories. If you've got a story for us, it's really easy. Just email it through to editor@therooftop.news. So that's editor@therooftop.news. And obviously, if you've got a picture to include with that, then that would make our lives a lot easier and would increase the chances of your story being picked up. And we do read every single one that comes in. We obviously can't cover everything. We get hundreds of emails a week, but it'd be great to hear from people, because the more stories that we get, the more good news we can share.
Definitely, that sounds great, Simon. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. That's our first ever broadcast. I'm Tom York. He's Simon Francis, as you know, and this is The Rooftop, the home of good news worth shouting about. So let's continue to shout. So that's it. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him. So we'll see you next time, maybe.